Dear student, Assalamu alaikum. In this video we will discuss about a quadratic equation, that what is a quadratic equation and how we can solve a quadratic equation. Any equation of the form ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0 is called a quadratic equation in which a, b and c are constant and x is the variable. But note that the coefficient of this x square, which is a, should not be equal to 0. So in other words, we can say that any equation in which the highest power of the variable x is 2 is called a quadratic equation. Now, how we can solve a quadratic equation? There are so many methods. For example, we can solve this quadratic equation by quadratic formula. We can solve a quadratic equation by factorization, or we can solve a quadratic equation by using the completing square method. First of all, if we discuss the quadratic formula, and let's take an example. Here is an equation 2x square plus 3x plus 1 equal to 0, and we are going to solve this quadratic equation by using quadratic formula. So first of all, what is quadratic formula? To find the value of x in this quadratic equation, the quadratic formula is given by x is equal to minus b plus minus under root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. Just plug the value of a, b and c in this formula. We get the roots of this quadratic equation or the solution of this quadratic equation. So in this example, the coefficient of x square is 2, so a is equal to 2. The coefficient of x is 3, so b is equal to 3, and the constant term in this equation is 1, so c is equal to 1. Put a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3 and c is equal to 1 in this equation. In this formula, we get minus 3 plus minus b square minus 4 a and c. So we get minus 3 plus minus 3 square 9 minus 4 dot 2 dot 1, which is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. 1 under root is 1. So minus 3 plus minus 1 divided by 4. um, Take minus 3 plus 1 divided by 4, we get minus 2 divided by 4, and then minus 3 minus 1 divided by 4, which is minus 4 divided by 4, we get x is equal to minus 1. So this is called the root of the quadratic equation, which is given in equation number 1, and this is the solution of this quadratic equation given in equation number 1. Note that if you want to check whether the solution is correct or incorrect, just put the value of x is equal to minus 1 by 2 in this equation. If it satisfies this equation, then the solution will be correct, otherwise incorrect. And similarly, put x is equal to minus 1 in this equation. If it satisfies this equation, then the solution will be correct. So you can check, you can verify your solution by putting the value of x in this equation. If the value of x satisfies the equation, your answer is correct, otherwise incorrect. One another example, x square minus 4 is equal to 0. So here the highest power of x is 2, so this is a quadratic equation. There is no x, so it means that b is equal to 0, and the constant term is minus 4. So in this equation, a is equal to 1, b is equal to 0, the coefficient of x, there is no x, so b is equal to 0, and c is equal to minus 4. Put the value of a, b, c in this formula, which is called the quadratic formula. We get minus 0 plus minus 0 square minus 4, 1 into minus 4, which is 16 under root. So we get x is equal to plus minus 16 under root divided by 2, which is equal to plus minus 4 divided by 2, which is equal to plus minus 2. So what is the solution, or what are the roots? X is equal to plus 2 is one root or one solution, and x is equal to minus 2 is the other solution. You can check by putting the value of this x. If we put x is equal to 2, we get 4 minus 4 is equal to 0, and when we get x is equal to minus 2 square, so my 4 minus 4 is again equal to, so both the roots are correct. Similarly, the factorization method, we can solve a quadratic equation by the method of factorization. uh, let's suppose this is a quadratic equation in general form ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. If we can write this equation static in the form x minus x naught into x minus x1 is equal to 0, then this is actually called the factorization of this equation, and then this x naught and x1 will be the root or solution of this quadratic equation. How this factorization method works: uh, split the coefficient b, the coefficient of x, which is b, split b in two numbers such that the sum of these two numbers is b and the product of these two numbers should be equal to AC, right? The coefficient of b, split the coefficient of b in two numbers, such two numbers that the sum of these two numbers should be equal to b and the product of these two numbers should be equal to the product of this a and c. For example, let's take an example: x square plus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0, which is a quadratic equation, and we are going now to solve this quadratic equation by the method of factorization. Now the coefficient of this x is 6, so split 6 in two numbers such that the sum of these two numbers is 6 and the product of these two numbers is equal to AC. A is 1 and C is 5, so the product AC is 5. So we can write this 6 in two numbers like 1x plus 5x. When we add these 1x plus 5x, we get 6x, and when we multiply the coefficients 5 and 1, we get 5x square. Yeah, 5. So x square plus 6x can be written as x plus 5x plus 5 equal to 0. In the first two term, take x common, we get x plus 1, and the last two term get take f5 is common, we get x plus 1. Again, in these two terms, x plus 1 is common, so take x plus 1 is common, we get here x, and in the second term we get here 5. So x plus 1 into x plus 5 is equal to 0. This is the mathematics rule that if a dot b is equal to 0, then a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. So take x plus 1 is equal to 0 and x plus 5 is equal to 0. From here we get x is equal to minus 1, and from here we get x is equal to minus 5. So this is the solution or root of the quadratic equation given by x square plus 6x plus 5 equal to 0. And if you want to check, verify your solution that whether these values are correct or incorrect, just plug the value of x in this equation. If it satisfies this equation, the answer is correct, otherwise incorrect. Let's take another example: x square plus 5x plus minus 14 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation and we are going to solve this equation by factorization method. So split this 5 in two numbers such that the sum of two numbers should be equal to 5 and the product of two numbers should be equal to AC. A is 1 and C is minus 14, so the product should be equal to minus 14. So we split this 5 is minus 2 and 7. When we add these two terms, minus 2 plus 7, we get 5x, and when we multiply this minus 2 and 7, we get minus 14, right? So write this 5x is x square minus 2x plus 7x minus 14 is equal to 0. In the first two term, take x is equal to common, we get x minus 2, and from this from the last two terms, take 7 is common, we get x minus 2. Again, in these two terms, x minus 2 is common, so take x minus 2 common, we get x plus 7. Again, a dot b is equal to 0 means a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0, so x minus 2 is equal to 0 and x plus 7 equal to 0. And from here we get x is equal to 2, and from x plus 7 is equal to 7, we get x is equal to minus 7. So these two are the roots or solution of the quadratic equation. You check and you can verify by putting the value of x in this equation. If it is by the equation, the solution is correct, otherwise it is incorrect. And the last question, x square minus 12x is equal to 0, you can factorize, or there is no constant term, so we can directly solve this equation by taking x common. We get x minus 12 is equal to 0, it means x is equal to 0 or x minus 12 is equal to 0, so x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 12 is the solution of this equation. The next method, which is the completing square, will be discussed in the next video. Thank you.